I'm Christine Yu, the co-founder of Sophia, a financial education platform for women in Asia and beyond. I want you to learn, invest, and change the world. This is why you should listen to me.
For our audience who are unfamiliar with the term investment pay gap, would you care to elaborate?
Simply put, women invest less often, and not as early enough as men do. And this is called the gender investing gap. And it leads to women retiring with about 25% less wealth than men do. And it's harder on women because women actually live longer. And so we have less money thanks to the gender pay gap. And because we're investing less than men are, we end up in the situation where we're living longer, and so our wealth has to last us for much longer as well.
For those of us who are familiar with the way finances are handled within the household, we would know that a lot of women defer their investment decisions to the men in the family. Can you describe the pitfalls or the disadvantages of doing that?
Absolutely. Well, actually, a UBS study reports that, most women are actually very good with budgeting and saving. So about 80% of women in a UBS study are very good at doing these more short-term, finance and budgeting related tasks for the family. But just 23% of women take the lead for their families in long-term financial planning. So that's insurance and investing. The deferment in investing really happens at that point. So it's triggered by marriage, and it's triggered by who is taking on the childcare. So as a result, it's the men who are taking on this, taking on the investing task for the family. And because women are focusing on the childcare, they're getting further and further and further away from this investing knowledge. And as a result, it leads to less confidence, less wealth. So what are the pitfalls of that? I think that it's really dangerous to actually disengage in your own wealth creation, right? And I think that's, it leads to a loss of control over the money you do have. It leads to a loss of wealth creation opportunities, really, throughout your life. It means that you have less choices when it comes to leaving a bad relationship, or even just making other life choices that you want, or even just in terms of your opportunities for wealth creation for your children's future as well. So it's really about what are the opportunities that you are foregoing by not being engaged.
Now, what is the challenge of getting women to invest early and holding on to that investment independence?
That's a great question. And I think, I want to ask you a question. When was the last time you went to lunch with your female friends and said, right, let's talk about our portfolios, right? What's the answer?
It's mentioned, I think, about once every 7 to 8 lunches, maybe.
There you go. So I think that just culturally, women generally aren't sort of in the practice of speaking to each other about money. And I think, there are a lot of cultural factors at play. Many women have been raised to think that speaking about money is a taboo subject, whereas in, male communities, money is not as taboo a topic. So I think, the first thing is that we as women need to create safe spaces for ourselves to be able to socialize and normalize conversations about money.
Are women in their 20s really investing a lot less than their male counterparts?
The data does show that. And so, all you have to look at are, the statistics around women and investing, right? Women keep more of their wealth in cash versus men. And they also are, reported to be, more risk averse, although I think a lot of us would say they're risk aware. And the reality is that, as I mentioned before, women are just making less money, and this investing culture, investing behavior, talking about money is not as ingrained in kind of female communities. And so that's why we need to break those taboos and make sure that women are investing as young as they possibly can. I think the other question that I would, kind of throw into the mix here is, are we learning about money in schools? we aren't. Money and investing skills, these are life skills, and we're just not taught how to navigate the world of money at all. And it's interesting because, you know, children as young as 7 years old already have formed habits and kind of, I guess, have observed money habits from growing up in their families. So it's also very important how the topic of money is discussed in these households, right? In all our households, and how what are these values about money that we carry with us into adulthood?
Let's talk about Sophia a little bit. In previous interviews, you have mentioned that a lot about investing or investment language is marketed or geared towards the male population. And you guys are here to kind of demyth and debunk that. So tell us more about that.
The reality is the traditional breadwinner has been a male, right? So naturally, a man has been the sort of, I guess, default customer avatar for most financial services. But since that women's wealth is growing at such a fast pace, you know, for example, in Asia, women's wealth is growing the fastest globally in the world at a compound annual growth rate of 10.6%, which is faster than it's growing in North America and in Western Europe. So there's a real potential to unlock the power of women and their wealth creation in this region. So, you know, it's a 700 billion opportunity. And I think financial services companies have the ability to unlock this opportunity by really saying what are women's pain points and how can we best craft, you know, our products and services that are geared towards women. I think it's things like, you know, what imagery is being used, what language is being used. You know, are we taking into account women's unique life stages? Are we thinking about, you know, the needs of women? Also things like, you know, women are twice as likely to incorporate ESG factors into her investing in her investing life, and so I think that's actually quite powerful. You know, things also like women are more likely to place importance on expert financial advice. So I think there's a real opportunity for the financial services industry to unlock the power of women as a customer demographic. And we at Sophia, we're here to really work hand in hand with them to help them do that, because our goal is we want to see more women creating wealth.
Well, we look forward to the day that we could see that. Thanks a lot for your time, Christine.
Thanks so much for having me.